Good afternoon, everyone. You're all very welcome back to Underground Cinema. As you know, this month we're spending the entire month interviewing a lot of the nominees that are have been nominated for the 13 Underground Cinema Awards, which will be held on November 5th in the Royal Marine Hotel in Dunleary. And this afternoon, I've got with me Myles Horgan, who directed a fantastic film, and it's been nominated for Best International Film. The film is called Scatterbrains. You're very welcome, Myles. Great to see you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. Brilliant.
Not at all, Myles. Now, this is a film I really enjoyed when I first watched it, and I've watched it a couple of times. And in fact, I think it's such an important film. To be honest with you, I think a lot of people should really take a look at this film because it deals with dementia or Alzheimer's. Maybe you could tell me tell the folks at home just a little bit about it.
So, with this short film, there's a number of different things. My mother has Alzheimer's and is now, from a fantastic, very powerful, intelligent woman. One of the top bridge players in the country. You know what I mean? Fantastic, passionate, and articulate woman. And she's now in a home with 24-hour care. And just that decline as well was so very close to my heart as such, but also as well, looking at the films that came out about that, there's a number of different ones. Julianne Moore was in one years ago, and that did very well regarding dementia, but it's Professor Losing Her Mind. I hated that movie, although it did very well. She's a fantastic actor, absolutely amazing actor, without a doubt. But the thing I didn't like about it, that was so mawkish. It was so victim. And this thing about, I didn't want to associate this kind of victimness and these kind of pulling at people's heartstrings and saying, "Oh, isn't it terrible?" And that sort of thing. It doesn't appeal to me as an audience member or as a filmmaker. And I think there's much more. It's much more successful and more palatable if there's a little bit of humor and darkness in it, and we'll just carry on, and we can see the dark side and we can see the light side as well, which is very Irish as well. Do you know what I mean? Rather than a kind of a sort of, oh, let's drop in the strings and isn't it terrible, and don't we all feel something? And I just don't believe that's sincere. I think that's manipulative, to be honest with you. Yes. All filmmaking is manipulative, but do you know what I mean? I couldn't bear, making a film with that sort of thing. So I wanted it to be, I wanted to have that little devilment in it. I wanted to have that, that strength in it, that sort of something that would intrigue you and, shock you and without playing those heartstrings, without playing the violins, which doesn't do anything for anything.
So why don't we just have a quick look at the trailer? Just give everybody just a little taste of what it looks like. Let's have a look at that now. I like your tagline as well. It's actually very good.
Don't forget to remember.
Don't
forget to remember. No, that was, you know what? There's a fantastic teacher called Father Angus, because I was taught in Rochestown Capuchin Friary, the school there, and they're all friars, and they're all of St. Francis, with the old brown bing bags, and the rope around the waist and all that. Yeah. A fantastic art teacher there, and he had the old, fantastic studio in there, because it used to be the old church, and it was Father Angus, and he was brilliant. He's always coming up with stuff like that, don't forget to remember and stuff like that. And he came up with some great stuff that I still use and I still think of, was this thing, if you highlight everything, you highlight nothing. We're talking about paintings and things like that, and he's like little insights like that. And I still bring them into filmmaking and acting and everything I do. not everything's important. Do you know what I mean? You need to draw the eye and draw the heart, and where you're going to do that in any work of art, you need to be able to, so don't highlight everything, highlight nothing. And I remember those little phrases, and that was one of his phrases, don't forget to remember. There's kind of just these things, they stick with you, don't they? Like those little, those little seeds. When we used to walk through the fields, and there's little seeds, just stick to you, Yeah, he's great.
Yeah. And it works really well for this particular piece, because when people do get a chance to have a look at the film, your lead actress is fantastic. She plays it so well. Annette Holland, she's a superb actress, and I think she nailed the illness so well, and you can feel there's not much dialogue. She doesn't have too much dialogue in it, but I think when you watch the film, she creates a tension as the film progresses, coming up towards the end of the film. But you also, if anybody has been through, like you have with your own mum, you can empathize with her performance. It's fantastic. She did a great job.
Yeah, it's a funny. She did. Yeah, she was great, and you've hit the nail on the head there. The thing I loved about the film was that there's very little dialogue. There's no doubt, and you've got. I love the fact that the film is set up and everything's set up visually with no dialogue, and I love that about that cinematic mode of doing that. You're intriguing people with visualizations rather than dialogue. It's only when it's necessary, and so her job was there really to to hit those beats of that anxiety, and how when people do slip and start to slip, how brilliant they are at hiding it. How, you know what I mean? And it's almost like if somebody's somebody gone through their life and they have an inability to read, and you think, oh my God, how did you get through life? And how clever we are at hiding things like that. So, even though my own mother as well wouldn't have recognized me and stuff like that, but she would play along as if she did. Do you know what I mean? And you could see it. You know what I mean? She was she wanted to get under the radar as such. Because it was the only reason you'd cop onto it was because it was so consistent in the sort of, hi, how are you? Like that, you know what I mean? There'd be no day-to-day variation. So she'd be playing the game as such. So even with that, with people losing their mind, they still have this great care of how they are perceived, So there's still there's an embarrassment about it,
Yeah, and it's a difficult one, and you would know better than an awful lot of other people. When you see somebody that you love go down that path, and as you said, your mother was a very intelligent, articulated lady. I can remember a very good friend of mine. His own mother was very, very similar to what you've told me about your own mom. And he used to go in to see her every night. And, the conversations she would have with him, and she said it to him out of the blue, it's terrible that Ronnie doesn't come in to see me anymore. And it was Ronnie that was coming in to see her every night. And, he was handling the whole dementia Alzheimer's thing very well until she said that. And he had to, suck it all in. He didn't want to, show her that he was a bit upset about what she had said. But it's such a difficult difficult disease to cope with, It
is. It's mad. But I mean, the thing is, well, I mean, we're still there. Do you know what I mean? We're still a presence there. Do you know what I mean? She's still there. She's still a presence, but she's not. And I mean, my brother and his girlfriend and my father as well and my sister look after her as such. You know what I mean? I'm based in London here, but she's, you know what I mean? They're down in Cork on the coalface every day. You know what I mean? And it's a huge drain on them as well. But I was saying that idea of the thing about it. There's a kind of a reference to fish in the film, and that whole idea of there's some sort of deeper knowledge in her you know, she does forget, and she, you know, she has, you know, her mind is lost, and she needs this structure during her day. But again, I always was fascinated by this idea of salmon, you know, coming back to their place of birth through thousands of miles. You know what I mean? And everybody talks about the, you know, fish have no brains and things like that, but still they have that compass to, you know, that inner draw, that deeper knowledge to come back to up that stream to find that spot. And I always find that, you know, there are deeper things and deeper powers at work than than our intellect. I think intellect is a lot of the times overrated, to be quite honest with you. You know what I mean? I do. I find people find it very important. The more complicated it is, I think people find it more important. And I think it's the other way around. You know what I mean? It's got to be the simple stuff, you know, and the best stuff.
Without giving too much away about the film, there is a part of the film. It's the second act where she leaves the house, and she, you know, and this is where some tension builds, because if she doesn't if she doesn't get back to the house, we could have a bit of a disaster on our hands here. And in a very short space of time, you build up that tension quite well. She's on a bus journey she's off to buy ingredients, you know, and nothing is phasing her, you know, but the audience, you know, we're praying that she will remember, or something will click with her to get back to the house to stop basically an explosion that could take place in the house. And you've done it very well in a very, very short space of time. Well done.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, it was it was the, you know, it's the ticking clock, isn't it? The whole Hitchcock there. We had to get that in. But we were up in the bus, and we were doing it out the back of the bus. We had no permission, like, you know what I mean? And she's coming back to the bus, and we had a rule, because we were shooting out on the street and up in buses and stuff like that. With the cameraman Ken Clay, I was kind of following them in the car, and they were up on the bus. You know what I mean? And I said, wherever we are, we're just off the North Circular here in London, and I said, wherever we are, if there is an ambulance, we're going to stop the scene, right? We're going to turn, and there's plenty of ambulances here in London. We're going to turn the camera in, and we're going to and wherever you are in the scene, I just want you to get into the shot, and that's it. Because we need to, you know, and it was just a great stroke of luck on her way back that an ambulance passed, you know, in the scene. And I was like, oh my God, it was like, oh, what a gift, you know, as an independent filmmaker, like, oh, great, you know what I mean? That's the budget. You know? So it was such a bit of luck, and luckily they had the hindsight, or the foresight to, and the presence of mind, as they should say, so to just keep rolling and just get it in there. You know, it was great. Yeah, perfect. I couldn't have, you know, if you had an AD up there with a walkie-talkie and you closed the street, you couldn't have got it more perfect. You know what I mean? This is great.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, that's guerrilla filmmaking at its best, isn't it? Really? As I said, we thoroughly enjoy the film, and I'm no doubt that it's going to be, you know, very successful on the festival circuit. I think it'll touch a lot of people, you know, when they do see it, you know. And you're right, it's not a dark piece, you know, and there's light humor in it as well, you know. It's a really nice piece, and beautifully acted by Annette. I think she really nailed it, to be honest with her performance. And
yeah, it's really good as well. As you know, just getting older actors in as well. I find that the parts, as soon as you get over 40, just become very two-dimensional. You know what I mean? Because you're the parent, or you're the teacher, or you're the priest, or whatever the hell. But, you know, so for writing for an older crowd, because I'm getting older myself, I realized, you know, we have just as many dimensions and depth, and, you know, and humor, and, you know, heartache in our lives. You know what I mean? The parents are always overlooked. So it's great to sort of get into that phase of my life, to sort of start telling these stories of older generations, you know what I mean? And maybe show them in a light, you know, because sometimes we forget that your parents are people, you know?
Yeah. And just sort of drifting off slightly while we're talking about it. See, you're an indie filmmaker originally from Ireland, has moved to the UK. and is working as an actor and a director in London. How's things going at the moment, Myles?
Well, I mean, the thing about it is, I've just sort of, I've never been one to wait for the gatekeepers to make up their minds. Do you know what I mean? You can never, as an actor as well, you feel like you could waste your whole life. So at the moment, we're now in production for a feature film. So I'm making with 3 other people, and this is like an alien. It's about an alien invasion. So there's 3 directors, and we make a half an hour piece, and we each of 3 different storylines, and we put them together. And that's fascinating because I'm very lo-fi. I'm a lo-fi guy. I don't like spending months and months and months in post-production. You know what I mean? I just get bored out of my mind. I didn't become a filmmaker to sit at a computer and join the dots. I can't stand it. I don't have the patience for it. So it's great to work with people who are kind of, because we have to do the aliens and the green screen and to work with people with that. It's a really nice sort of, it's really learning for me. But I can say as well to you that Toys R Us boys they get so carried away with what they can do with the computers, and I'm like, yeah, but where's the narrative of it? Where's the story of it? Do you know what I mean? Where's the brass tacks to it? Yeah. But it's really good fun. I mean, I get to play, what is it? I was talking to you earlier about, I'm going to play the Prime Minister, and that's quite fun. You know what I mean? It's a kind of a heightened future. It's set in a heightened future. But I love the fact that you get these guys, I don't know, for some reason, the RP there, and these MPs, like, people stop listening to the content. They'll just hear the RP. And that's, as long as I'm speaking to you in this way, and I'm doing it confidently, I could be saying anything. You know what I mean? And just people, I think it's like a hypnotism, and royalty and that sort of thing is a hypnotism. And it's a great Irishman said, what's his name? It's like, as an Irishman, I'm not perceptible to that particular form of hypnotism.
So the move to London, I'm gathering that it was a positive move. It's worked out well for you over the years, Myles.
It has. I came over. I think it was. I did the Wind That Shook the Barley with Ken Loach, and I came over on that wave as such. You know what I mean? But again, you know what I mean. It's sometimes you can't get arrested. Do you know what I mean? So it's that sort of, as soon as you realize that, and how you're limited as well by being, an Irish actor as well. Do you know what I mean? I mean, there are actors, they do very well. Cillian Murphy kind of broke that mold as well. He was able to get out of that by his accent work. Otherwise, you're sort of caught to, the terrorist, the boxer, the drunk, or the pedophile priest, or you know what I mean? There's something going on. You know what I mean? You got that. And listen, I'm not complaining about it because we do the same over in Ireland. The English guy will always be the victim or the villain. Do you know what I mean? So you can't expect, you know what I mean? And that's, in a way, that's been great because it's forced me into going, well, I mean, as an independent filmmaker, why did I just make these stories and stuff like that and just, just keep on trucking with it and just, because the stories, if they are true and they are good and they are human stories, they should really cut through any cultural sort of, dressing of accents and class and politics and things like that. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Even though it's a part of it. Yeah.
Fantastic. And just before we wrap up, and I just had a quick look at your IMDb there, and I spotted it straight away that you'd worked with Ivan Kavanagh, who's a great friend of Underground Cinema. We screened Ivan's work back in 2011. He was the closing film of the festival back then. Tin Can Man with Michael Pearl, and how did you find working with Ivan?
Oh, it's great. He's the silent assassin, really, isn't he? It's just, I love his stuff. It's just, he's such a respectful, almost like a mild-mannered guy. But then when you see his work, you kind of go, "Oh, you're one dark soul," which is great. You know what I mean? And he has his outlet for that. But very unassuming guy, allows the actors and everybody with respect to sort of gives them their space to an ownership of the piece. And that's incredibly difficult to do, especially if you're a writer director, to have that bravery to hand it over to other people and for them to make it their own. You know what I mean? It shows an amazing lack of ego. You know what I mean? It shows a higher ego, I think. And that's the one thing I've worked with them on a couple of occasions. It's always been a pleasure.
Yeah, well, it's been a pleasure speaking to you today as well, Myles. It was great to finally meet you. We really enjoyed the film. It was fantastic. I'm really looking forward to seeing your Alien film. So when it's ready, send it on to us.
I will, definitely.
And thank you very much for joining us today, Myles. Brilliant.
Thank you so much. Thank you, David. Thank you very much. And thank you for screening the film. It's fantastic. Thank you for what you're doing. Welcome. Thank you for what you're doing and, and supporting independent filmmakers. It's absolutely fantastic what you guys do. Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Myles. Thank you.